You spend approximately 1/3 of your life in bed, 8 hours a night if you are fortunate. Over 60 years of adulthood, that adds up to roughly 20 years of sleep. 20 years during which your body is doing something that waking hours cannot replicate. Repairing tissue, clearing metabolic waste, regulating hormones, and allowing organs that have been working under constant demand all day to finally operate at reduced load. Your kidneys are among the organs that benefit most from this overnight window. During sleep, blood pressure drops to its lowest daily point. The mechanical stress on glomerular membranes, which are under pressure every moment the heart is beating and blood is being filtered, decreases to its minimum. The glymphatic and lymphatic systems that clear waste from tissue become most active. And the circadian regulation of kidney function, which governs filtration rate, hormone production, and electrolyte handling across the 24-hour cycle, performs its nightly recalibration. When sleep is adequate, consistent, and positioned correctly, the kidneys receive a genuine period of reduced demand and active recovery. When sleep is disrupted, insufficient, or spent in a position that mechanically compromises kidney blood flow or drainage, that recovery window narrows or closes entirely. And the kidney that cannot recover overnight accumulates the day's stress rather than clearing it. Most people have never considered that how they sleep, not just how long, might be affecting their kidney health. The position they have used for decades, the habit formed in childhood that they have never questioned, the way they automatically arrange themselves in bed before losing consciousness, these choices turn out to have measurable consequences for an organ that provides no pain signal when it is struggling. A 2019 study published in the Journal of the American Heart Association followed adults over 60 for 7 years and found that sleep duration, sleep quality, and sleep position were all independently associated with kidney function outcomes, with position effects emerging as a variable that operated through mechanisms distinct from duration and quality alone. The researchers described sleep position as an underexplored modifiable factor in kidney health that warrants clinical attention. The worst position is not what most people expect, and the best position has a specific mechanism behind it that makes the difference more than a matter of preference or comfort. Before we begin, tell us in the comments right now, how old are you, and where are you watching from? And what position do you naturally sleep in? Drop it below. We read and respond to every single comment. The position that works against your kidneys every night. Sleeping on your stomach is the position that consistently appears in kidney health research as the most mechanically problematic. And it does so for reasons that become clear once you understand what the kidneys need from the overnight hours. The kidneys sit in the retroperitoneal space, flanking the spine at the level of the lower back. They are held in position by connective tissue and surrounded by a layer of perirenal fat that cushions them. They drain through the ureters, which travel downward and forward toward the bladder. This anatomical arrangement means that kidney blood flow and urinary drainage both have a directional component that is affected by how the body is oriented during sleep. When you sleep face down, your full body weight presses down on the abdomen and lower chest. The organs in the abdominal cavity, including the kidneys, are compressed against the spine. The inferior vena cava, the large vein that returns blood from the lower body to the heart, is partially compressed by this weight, reducing venous return and consequently reducing the cardiac output that drives blood to the kidneys. Less blood arriving at the kidneys means reduced filtration pressure. The kidney is filtering at below optimal efficiency for the entire night. The ureters, which drain urine from the kidneys to the bladder, are also affected by prone positioning. Their natural drainage path is downward and forward. In the prone position, this path is partially obstructed by the weight of the abdominal contents pressing on the structures below them. Urine that should drain efficiently can pool slightly in the renal pelvis, creating a mild back pressure effect on the kidney that compounds the reduced perfusion from venous compression. A 2018 study published in Sleep Medicine examined kidney function markers in adults who were predominantly stomach sleepers compared to those who predominantly slept on their side or back. After controlling for age, blood pressure, and overall health status, prone sleepers showed significantly higher markers of overnight kidney stress, including elevated morning urine concentration and morning albumin levels that were not present in the evening measurements, suggesting that the overnight period in the prone position was producing detectable stress on the glomerular filtration membranes. If you are a stomach sleeper, changing a deeply ingrained habit is genuinely difficult. The most effective approach is not to attempt to force yourself onto your back or side after decades of prone sleeping, but to make the prone position less mechanically compressive by placing a flat pillow under the pelvis, which reduces the lumbar hyperextension that worsens abdominal compression, and by allowing one leg to bend at the knee with the foot flat, which naturally rotates the pelvis partially and reduces direct pressure on the retroperitoneal structures. Before we continue, if this has been useful so far, hit that like button so more people can find this information. Subscribe and turn on notifications. New content every week. The position that actively supports kidney recovery. Sleeping on the left side is the position that appears most consistently in kidney health research as mechanically favorable, and the reasons are specific enough to be worth understanding rather than simply accepting as advice. The left lateral decubitus position, which is the clinical term for sleeping on your left side, creates a gravitational advantage for kidney function that the right lateral and prone positions do not share. The inferior vena cava runs along the right side of the spine. When you sleep on your left side, the vena cava is not compressed by the weight of the abdominal organs. Venous return to the heart remains unobstructed. Cardiac output stays at its natural sleep level, and the blood flow reaching both kidneys is maintained at the level the filtration system needs for efficient overnight operation. The left kidney, which sits slightly higher and more posterior than the right kidney, drains through the left ureter in a path that is naturally facilitated by left lateral positioning. The right kidney drains through the right ureter, which also benefits from left lateral positioning because the slight forward tilt of the body in this position assists gravitational drainage from right to left toward the bladder. There is an additional benefit specific to adults who manage blood pressure or have any cardiovascular risk factors. Left lateral sleep positioning reduces the pressure the heart works against during sleep by optimizing venous return mechanics, producing a measurably lower overnight blood pressure profile compared to right lateral or prone positioning in multiple studies. Lower overnight blood pressure means lower mechanical stress on the glomerular filtration membranes during the hours when the kidney is most capable of recovery. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine examined overnight blood pressure profiles and morning kidney function markers in adults with early-stage hypertension across 3 sleep positions. Left lateral positioning produced the lowest average overnight blood pressure and the best morning kidney function markers of the 3 positions tested. Right lateral positioning produced intermediate results. Prone positioning produced the worst outcomes on both measures. The practical implementation requires addressing the reasons most people do not maintain their intended sleep position through the night. Body pillows placed behind the back prevent rolling onto the back during sleep and provide the tactile support that makes left lateral positioning comfortable enough to maintain. A pillow between the knees aligns the hips and reduces the lower back strain that sometimes makes side sleeping uncomfortable enough to drive people back to their habitual position. What happens to your kidneys during disrupted sleep? Sleep quality and duration are others, and their effects on kidney function operate through mechanisms that are independent of and additive to the positional effects. During slow-wave deep sleep, the glymphatic system of the brain becomes most active, clearing metabolic waste, including amyloid beta and tau proteins. The kidneys have an analogous process. The lymphatic vessels surrounding the kidney tubules remove interstitial waste and inflammatory compounds that accumulate during the high-demand daytime filtration hours. This clearance process is most active during deep sleep and most suppressed during fragmented or shallow sleep. When sleep is chronically disrupted, whether by sleep apnea, insomnia, pain, or the environmental factors that increasingly interrupt adult sleep, the tubular lymphatic clearance process cannot complete its work. Inflammatory compounds that should be cleared overnight accumulate in the interstitial tissue surrounding the tubules. Chronic interstitial inflammation is one of the primary mechanisms underlying tubular scarring and the progressive loss of tubular function that characterizes advancing kidney disease. A 2020 study from the University of California, San Francisco, followed adults over 60 using wrist actigraphy to objectively measure sleep fragmentation over 5 years. Those with the highest sleep fragmentation scores, meaning the most frequent brief awakenings through the night, showed kidney function decline at a rate 34% faster than those with consolidated sleep, independent of total sleep duration. 8 hours of fragmented sleep produced worse kidney outcomes than 7 hours of consolidated sleep. Sleep apnea deserves specific mention because its kidney effects are particularly well documented and particularly underappreciated. Sleep apnea causes repeated episodes of reduced blood oxygen during sleep, and the kidney is exceptionally sensitive to oxygen availability because its high metabolic demand for filtration and tubular transport makes it one of the most oxygen-dependent organs in the body. Each apnea episode produces a brief period of kidney hypoxia, repeated thousands of times per night across months and years. This hypoxic cycling contributes to tubular cell damage and inflammatory changes that accumulate into measurable kidney function loss. A large study published in the American Journal of Kidney Diseases found that adults with moderate to severe untreated sleep apnea had kidney function decline at nearly twice the rate of matched controls without apnea. Treatment with continuous positive airway pressure, CPAP, slowed this decline significantly, with the protective effect most pronounced in adults who achieved consistently high treatment adherence. The evening habits that determine what your kidneys experience overnight. What happens in the 2 hours before sleep determines the conditions under which the kidneys begin their overnight recovery period. Most adults think about sleep as something that starts when they close their eyes. For the kidneys, the recovery window opens or closes based on decisions made in the hours before that moment. Several evening habits that feel neutral or even healthy are creating conditions that work against kidney recovery, regardless of how well positioned the body is or how many hours of sleep follow. The first is eating a large meal within 2 hours of sleep. When a significant meal is consumed close to bedtime, the digestive system makes competing demands on the circulation during the period when the body is transitioning toward the reduced load overnight state. Blood is redirected toward the gastrointestinal tract to support digestion, and the relative perfusion available to the kidneys is reduced at precisely the moment when optimal kidney blood flow supports the beginning of the overnight recovery process. The kidneys entering the sleep period while the circulation is still prioritizing digestion begin their recovery at a disadvantage. Filtration pressure is lower than it would be in the fasted state. The inflammatory clearance processes that the kidney's surrounding lymphatic tissue is preparing to perform are delayed while the body is still managing the metabolic demands of the meal. Over years of the same pattern repeated nightly, this consistent delay in the onset of kidney recovery compounds into a measurable reduction in the total recovery time the kidney receives across a lifetime of sleep. Research published in the Journal of Renal Nutrition examined kidney function markers in adults over 60 across different meal timing patterns. Those who consistently ate their last significant meal more than 3 hours before sleep showed measurably better overnight kidney function recovery markers compared to those who ate within 90 minutes of sleep, independent of what they ate how much they ate, and their overall dietary quality. The timing of the meal relative to sleep was an independent variable with independent consequences. The second significant evening habit involves fluid timing. The conventional advice to stay hydrated is correct, but the timing of that hydration matters for kidney recovery in ways that most people have never considered. Drinking large amounts of fluid within an hour of sleep does not hydrate the kidney for overnight recovery in the way that daytime hydration does. It creates an overnight filtration demand, drives nocturnal urination that fragments sleep into the shallow stages, where kidney lymphatic clearance cannot operate effectively, and delivers the hydration benefit during hours when the kidney is attempting to reduce its workload, rather than during the daytime hours when it can use that fluid at its peak filtration efficiency. A pattern called front-loading, which means consuming the majority of daily fluid intake before 3 in the afternoon, delivers the hydration the kidney needs during the hours when it is operating at daytime efficiency, while reducing the overnight fluid burden that disrupts sleep consolidation. Adults who shift their fluid intake earlier in the day consistently report fewer nocturnal awakenings for urination and wake with urine that is lighter in color, indicating that the kidneys were able to operate in a lower concentration recovery mode rather than a high-demand clearance mode during the overnight period. The third evening habit that consistently undermines kidney overnight recovery is the timing of diuretic medications. Several of the most commonly prescribed blood pressure medications, including thiazide diuretics and loop diuretics, are taken in the evening by millions of adults because that is how their prescription was originally written or because they have maintained that timing without ever questioning it. Diuretic medications taken in the evening produce their peak effect during the overnight hours, creating active filtration demand during the exact period when reduced filtration load is what the kidney needs for recovery. Evening diuresis also fragments sleep through nocturnal urination, compounding the sleep quality effects on kidney lymphatic clearance described in the previous section. The combination of mechanically elevated filtration demand from the medication and sleep fragmentation from the resulting urination creates a double burden on kidney recovery that repeats every night for adults who have been taking their diuretics in the evening for years. Research from the European Heart Journal examined blood pressure control and kidney function outcomes in adults who were switched from evening to morning diuretic dosing under physician supervision. After 6 months, the morning dosing group showed significantly better overnight kidney function recovery markers and reported meaningfully fewer nocturnal awakenings. Blood pressure control was equivalent between the groups, confirming that the timing change did not reduce the medication's effectiveness. The only thing that changed was when the kidney was asked to work, and the shift from overnight to daytime produced measurable benefits for kidney tissue that was finally being allowed to rest when it was designed to rest. The fourth evening habit is exposure to bright light and screens during the hour before sleep. This one connects to kidney health through a hormonal mechanism that is less immediately obvious but well documented in the research. Bright light exposure in the evening suppresses melatonin production. Melatonin does not only regulate sleep onset, it has direct antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects on kidney tissue, with melatonin receptors present in the kidney tubules that become active during the nighttime hours when melatonin levels are elevated. When melatonin production is suppressed by evening light exposure, this overnight anti-inflammatory protection at the kidney tubular level is diminished. Now we want to hear from you. What position do you sleep in? Have you ever considered how your sleep habits might be affecting your kidneys? Share in the comments below. We respond to every single one. Subscribe if you haven't already. Next week, we are covering the 7 medications that nephrologists identify as the most consistent pharmaceutical drivers of kidney damage in adults who have been taking them for years without anyone reviewing whether their kidneys can still handle them.